over P1 to P3. So this little review that I gave you it's called practice quiz. And if you want to know the truth, it's actually an old quiz I gave and I just kept it for practice. So the one you get is probably going to look similar to this. So first thing we're doing is simplifying this exponent thing. Alright, so we're going to do it carefully. We're not going to be overwhelmed by the whole big ugly thing. We're going to do it very carefully. My strategy may or may not be your strategy, and that's okay, as long as we end up with the same answer. I like to take care of what's in here first. There's so much stuff in there, I want to kind of condense that. So one letter at a time. The 3 and the 4, I can't do anything with that. If it had been 6 and 4, I could reduce, but I can't do anything with that. Look at my x's. I got a negative here. I'm going to pop him up to the top. So now there's 8 of them up there. And then I'm going to pull him down to the bottom, the 7, like the 7. So now there's 8 of those down there. And it's still being raised to the negative second. So that negative flips my fraction. So I'm going to have my 4y to the 8th on top and my 3x to the 8th on the bottom. And now it's to the second power. And I will simply square everything. So I square and get 16, 4 squared. And then y to the 16th, 9x to the 16th.
So is it okay if I just flip it right when, like,
Hey, did you get that answer?
Yeah.
Then it's okay. It's okay. You can do this in whatever order you want to do it. I only have time to do it once, so I'm going to do it my favorite way. All right, write in interval notation. If you are at all confused, think about the picture. What is out here? Negative infinity. There's your interval right there. Negative infinity to 2. Parentheses on the infinity always. The infinities are open. There's no dot at infinity. That's bracketed because that's a closed interval. Okay, what does this mean? What am I doing here? Distance, yep. And how do I find distance?
Root of.
It's a radical, so we're going to have a big radical.
Yeah, 2 minus 1.
And I'm going to subtract. So 2 minus 1 squared. 3 minus negative 4 squared. Right, so that's going to become, now, again, the order doesn't matter since you're squaring. So if you did 1 minus 2, that's okay. All right, so 2 minus 1 squared would be 1. And 3 minus negative 4 is 49. Well, 7 squared is 49. So we have the square root of 50, which we're going to reduce, and we're reducing by hand. The only calculator we're ever going to use in this class is our grapher. So you need to be able to reduce this. So anybody know what 5 root 2? Because 50 is 25 times 2. So 5 root 2 is your answer. All right, solve this equation. All right. What do you think? Common denominator? And what would the common denominator be? 70? So this one's going to have to be times by 14. This one by, how about 10? And this one by 7. Is that okay with everybody? There are lots of common denominators that you could use. 70 is the smallest one. Okay, now all the denominators are 70. So I can like forget them. So 56 plus 30x minus 20, keep your eye on my arithmetic, is that right? Equals 7x. Before you start moving, let's go ahead and combine these. So that will be 36. And, wow, did you get 36 over negative 23? Here's our answer. Obviously, if I'm making up the problems, we get all kinds of craziness, so don't worry about that. All right, go back to number 3 and find the midpoint. So here are our points, P and Q, and we're gonna find the midpoint. How do we find midpoint? We add and divide by 2. In other words, we average. So our midpoint is 1 plus 2 halves, divide by 2. Negative 4 plus 3 divided by 2. There's your midpoint. Alright, and now we're going to write the equation of a circle. And remember what the equation of a circle looks like. It's an x squared plus a y squared equal to a number. And this number is r squared. So my center is 1, 4. So this is going to be x minus 1 is the opposite. Minus 1. And y minus 4. And my radius is 5 root 2. And I need to square that, which means I square each piece. So that's going to be 25 times 2. So that's going to equal 50.
What happened to
Square 5. What's that?
That's what.
Okay, square root 2. Okay, perfect. All right, so put that away. We got to move on. So what happens tomorrow, boys and girls? We have a quiz. Yeah. Are we going to worry about it?
Yes.
What? You want to prepare for it, but you're going to be worried about it. We just review. You know what you need to know. So practice. All right. Now we're going to start P4, which is about lines. Who remembers how to find slope? We are finding the slope. Yep, so your formula, if you're a formula type person, your formula is this. And of course, these x's and y's are your points, right? So like this is x1 and this is x2. So here we go. y2 minus y1 is negative 1 minus 2. And x2, 7 minus 3. Does that look okay? So what have I got? That's going to be my slope. So that's going to be negative 3 over 4. Now I want you to notice something. We could have subtracted in the other order. We could have done 2 minus negative 1 and 3 minus 7. You see how the answer will be exactly the same? The key to slope is you have to do both in the same order. So if you do first y minus second y, you have to do first x minus second x. Or you can do second minus first, both ways. Okay, all right, you try B. What do you get for B? 0. Oh my goodness, you do get 0, don't you? 4 minus 4 over 6 minus negative 7, 0 over 14, which is 0. What's going on when the slope of the line is 0? It's horizontal, right? It's a horizontal line. If you looked at your 2 points, if you looked at 6, 4 and negative 7, 4, see how they make a horizontal line? Horizontal lines have a slope of 0. That makes sense, doesn't it? Y's over 1, 0. All right, find B so that the slope is as indicated. All right, so let's look at this. So we have these 2 points, 3, 2, and 6y. And we know that the slope of the line is 2/3. Okay, so one option could be to go ahead and write the equation of the line using this point and then plug that point in to find y. We could do that, absolutely. I think there's a quicker way, but that will work. So if that makes sense to you, go ahead and do it. Watch this. What do you think about that? What's the slope here? Wouldn't the slope be y minus 2 over 6 minus 3? And they told me that the slope is 2/3. So if I do my little formula, it should equal 2/3. Okay. This is kind of an easy one. Those denominators match. Don't they? So what does y have to be? Yeah, y is 4. Now, they're not always going to match. We'll look at the next one. There's another one we'll do, and they probably don't match there, but yeah, y equals 4.
What'd you do with the 6 that was to the left of the 6?
Here?
Yeah.
I subtracted 6 minus 3
Oh,
is 3. I just did the arithmetic. Okay, let's try this one, see if we can do the same thing. It might be a little more interesting. So my slope would be negative 2 minus negative 8 over x minus 4. All right? Everybody good? We're going to go to lunch, but it's time. I know you're all like watching the clock and you're anxious. I haven't forgotten. I have my little schedule. I found it. So negative 2 minus negative 8 over x minus 4. That's the slope. Well, they told me that the slope has to equal negative 3/8. Right? So 6 over x minus 4 has to be negative 3/8. Some of you are really sharp and you're, just good thinkers. I'm gonna go in and do the meat and potatoes way of doing this problem. I'm gonna cross multiply. Have you cross multiplied before? Do you remember how that works? That's just gonna make this the quickest way. So 48 equals, there's 48, equals negative 3x plus 12. So I'll subtract 12, so 36 equals negative 3x. So x equals are you okay? So on those 2 problems that we just did, just find the slope like always and set it equal to the slope they gave you, and then solve your equation. All right, where are we ready for? Number 3. Number 3 says write the point slope form of the line. M is the slope letter. Do y'all remember that when I write down? That's the slope letter. Okay, anybody remember what point slope is? Yeah.
Is it y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1?
It is my favorite equation of a line ever. I love the point slope. I think it's the easiest thing in the world. And especially in this case, because they gave us a point and they gave us the slope. So remember, this is just your x1, y1 right here, your point. Plug it in. So y plus 2 equals 6, x minus 6. Does that make sense to you? I didn't have to really find anything, I just plug in. You good? And guess what? You're done. This is the point slope form. So there are things you could do to that equation, but you don't need to. Your job was to come up with this form, and you did. That's what you got. If you start changing that, you'll have the same answer, the same line, but it'll be a different form. How can you yawn in the middle of point slope? Come on. All right. We're going to do exactly the same thing, but this one is a little bit trickier. What do I have to do first? I got to have my slopes. It's really hard to do point slope if you don't have the slope. So, here we go. Slope is 17 minus 5 over 4 minus negative 2. Which is 12 over 6, which is 2. And then point slope. I need a point. I have 2 of them. I can pick whichever one I want. Which one do you want to use? This one? All right, there it is. That's my x1, y1. So my equation will be y minus 5 equals 2 x plus 2. Yep.
Why did you?
What?
Never mind.
All right, we'll do one more and then we will go lunch, okay? Get her done. Here we go. Right, the directions are still write the point slope form of a line. And this time we know that we are parallel to this and we contain this. So that means this is your x1, y1, right here. That's your point. We need a slope. We're not going to be able to find it the way we did here because we don't have 2 points. But we do know we want to be parallel to this. What does that mean? The slopes are the same. So I need to find the slope of this line. How do I find the slope of that line? Get y by itself, right? Solve for y. So 4y equals negative x plus 10. So y equals negative 1/4 x plus 5 halves. Does everybody understand this is negative? When I do negative x divided by 4, that's like negative 1/4 x. And that guy right there is the slope. mx, m slope. So my answer, remember I'm doing point slope, y plus 1 equals negative 1/4 x minus 1. And that is the point slope from the line. All right, we're back in our seats at 30. Everybody in your seats at 30. Stop whining. Yeah,